I'm going to start out with a reading from the Gospel of Luke. We've been working through this a little bit before, so those of you who've been to another encounter tonight will be familiar enough with it. When the people pressed upon Jesus to hear the word of God, he was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, and he saw two boats by the lake, but the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. Getting into one of the boats, which was Simon, he asked him to put out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people from the boat. And when he had ceased speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into the deep. Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." And Simon answered, "Master, we toiled all night and took nothing. But at your word I will let down the nets." And when they had done this, they enclosed a great shoal of fish, and as their nets were breaking, they beckoned to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both the boats so that they began to sink. But when Simon Peter saw it, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, Lord." For he was astonished, and all that were with him, at the catch of fish which they had taken. And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. Henceforth you will be catching men." And when they had brought their boats to land, they left everything and followed him. All right, I'm going to think about this line here. "Depart from me, for I am a sinful man." It's an unexpected line. It's an unexpected event. Think about it. Something amazing has just happened. That after toiling all night, nothing and nothing and nothing, which as a fisherman means hunger and poverty, and hunger perhaps for days to come. Suddenly, a giant catch of fish. And his first response is, "Depart from me, I am a sinful man." Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not quite sure that would be my response. I don't know if any of you noticed, but it was Halloween last night. That's the thing. Okay. So now, when I was a kid, I thought that the Twix candy bar was the best of all candy bars. This is not because of objectivism, that you know it is, but because I'm allergic to eggs and nuts, and everything's delicious with eggs and nuts. So, for things that don't have eggs and nuts, the Twix bar is the best. Alright. Now, if I went to somebody's house, and I had my little bag, a little pillowcase or something, and that person just dumped out full-size Twix bars into my bag until it was bursting, I do not think my response would be, "I am not worthy. Please depart from me." I think my response would be, "Excuse me, do you have any more pillowcases? Because I have 12 sick brothers at home who wouldn't come. They're dying and I don't have Twix-itis. How are we going to solve it?" I think that would be my solution to the problem. And think about what this means for St. Peter. Right? Peter is a fisherman. Everything that he has and does lives and dies based on his success at the sea. You can imagine this is not his first bad night. This is not his first exhausted morning with nothing to show for it. That means all night, laboring with heavy nets, laboring in rough weather, laboring. Surely, he's had in his heart a kind of perfect, ideal world. Like, wouldn't this be great? Wouldn't it be completely perfect? I would have everything that I want. If only I could just put this net down, and it would come up so full of fish I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. I'd be like sick on fish. That's like a right? It's a dream. It might have been the best dream he ever had. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, after one of these wasted empty nights, maybe spent fantasizing about catching a huge draw of fish, something actually even wilder than his wildest expectations happens. They pull up not just a big catch of fish, but so much fish that he has to draw in his partners and draw in all the boats he can, and still they're almost sinking. It's such a superabundance that it's almost destroying. It's all of his wildest dreams and then some. Think about that. What are your wildest dreams? If Christ just showed up right now, body and soul, blood and divinity, just showed up to you and said, hey, what is the thing that you would want most in the entire world? You would have it immediately, like Magic Genie style. What would you say? What would be in your heart? What would be in my heart? I don't know. I went through this crazy experience. I was living in Japan, and I was walking around a mall while being conspicuously white. And by the way, this is the only place in my entire life I've ever felt tall. It was awesome. I was actually average height. It was great. So I was walking around this mall, and suddenly these people show up with a camera, which is not normal, even though, of course, I'm a celebrity. They just show up with a camera, and I swear this is true. They just say, it says something like, we want to, like, we're on the show, and we want to film videos, like, fine, whatever. So they're asking me, like, all right, so if you have $1 million, and you only have 24 hours in which to spend it, and you couldn't, like, use it wisely, like, invest it, or, like, donate it to charity, you had to just, like, blow it on something. What would you blow it on? And I was like, I don't know what I want. Like, what do I want with my life? I have no idea. I have no answer. I ended up just being like, I don't know, stop. Leave me alone. I just want to shop. I actually couldn't think of anything I wanted enough to be able to answer the scope of their question. What is it for each one of us? When you have time, you think like, oh man, if only I had this or the other, things would be great. Maybe if I got perfect grades all the time, just everything would be great. Or maybe if I were just really, really good at sports, like things would be really great. I could just have what I want. Maybe, I got along with my brothers and sisters, got along with my family. Maybe if my parents got along, didn't fight so much, or maybe if mom and dad got together, or I don't know, anything, right? You think, what is it that I want in the world? And it seems like it's just going to range from like physical, material things to like random things about relationships, loves that we have. Well, here's the wild reality that St. Peter encountered on the shore of the sea that day, which is that Jesus Christ gives you exactly what he has always wanted, and the moment he sees it, he realizes that's not enough. I was made for more. We all know that there's this experience where we can want something so badly, and then the moment that we have it, it's like we didn't have anything at all. I always tried to pretend when I was growing up that I wasn't a little bit disappointed at the very end of Christmas. It's like 8 p.m. on December 25th, and I'm like trying to pretend that like this was everything I was hoping it was going to be. We're all familiar with that experience. But this is something much, much deeper. St. Peter looks at the fulfillment of all of his desires, and he said, shame on me. You gave me everything I wanted, and it was a bunch of fish piled up on the seashore. That's what Christ is inviting St. Peter into. And that's why the first thing that he says to him is, be not afraid. Christ has a horizon of love, a horizon of gift, a horizon of himself that is infinitely farther than our eyes can see. What he wants for you, what he wants for me, is vastly more than what I can summon up the desire to ask for from within my own heart. I am fine, and I put blinders on God, or I try my best. But God wants to give us something without limit. A good, more than just one material thing or another, one problem at the moment resolved or another. He wants to give us himself. Himself without limit. And there's a strange thing where sometimes it can feel like God's not really that interesting. You know, like this whole church thing, like what's the deal, whatever. It's the funny reality is that really it's each one of us who is putting the limit on what we'll let God do in our own lives. I've had this experience, I'm a convert. Shortly after I converted, I was not very serious about this whole faith thing, whatever. And I remember I was reading a book one time that my sister was very pious against me. She was trying to make me more pious. I guess jokes on me at work. But anyway, I found out that this thing called daily mass existed. Who knew? Priests do stuff between Sundays, I guess. And I remember thinking oh, losers. Who would go to mass every day and stuff? You totally don't even have to. What losers, you know? It was just, I didn't even think about it. It was just well, that's obviously stupid. You know? Okay, years go down the line, God has thought a lot of my heart. My life changes a lot. I'm going to daily mass, and I think okay, I'm going to go to daily mass, but that's it. Please, there's a limit. And I remember the church that I was going to, these group of people the priest would expose the Eucharist, and then they would pray the rosary after every mass. And sometimes I'd be kneeling there praying, and usually I try to duck out as quickly as I could, but sometimes I'd be kneeling there praying, and the rosary would start up, and I would just have this totally automatic, unthinking response of oh, losers! Oh my gosh, these people are in way too deep, what's wrong with these people? We've just been to daily mass and we want to pray more. Okay, I'm so glad about those people. Okay, how about I run out and woo, escape that. Okay, eventually again, jokes on me, you start to pray, the rosary all the time, that was great. Joke remained further on me, I became a priest, whatever, it's happening. But the point is, it's not like God changed in each of those stages of my life, right? God was continually offering me the same thing. And I was only willing to receive very small amounts of what he wanted to offer. Because my whole, as far as I could see, opening my eyes as wide as I could, standing on the big step, and I could just see everything that I could ever want in the world, it was still so small. And what I was asking of God was almost nothing. Here's what I promise you. Each and every one of you, whatever your experiences have been, however long you've been struggling with this whole God thing, whatever you're bringing with you here tonight, Jesus Christ desires to give you not one thing Christ desires to give you nothing less than himself entirely. That's what we ask for when we come like this. For no reason. Not to earn points, not to impress anyone, not to make ourselves look good or anyone else, but just to come and adore. Say, depart from me, Lord. I am sinful. What I want is so little. Make me want you. What Jesus Christ wants to give us is the gift of never settling for anything less than himself. Be not afraid. That's the one thing he will never stop